weeks away after winning his 100th game as the head coach here at Notre Dame.
The reason I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, I was born in this country. It isn't what you have, it's what you're taught about the values of life.
We trying to save souls.
So there's a rule in life that said you're either growing or you're dying.
And like an old friend once said, we as Americans need to start winning again.
Everyone should ask this question. Am I willing to endure the pain and the suffering and the sacrifice it takes to be a champion?
Greetings and welcome to the Lou Holtz podcast. We've had a lot of great guests. I don't know if we've had anybody more interesting. Our guest today, Dave Alexander. He entered the petroleum business. Dave's petroleum business grew rapidly and led to the founding of their company called Caljet, which is currently the largest independent energy products and motor fuels. The company just celebrated its 41st anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, if any of you have ever built a business, you know how difficult it is to keep that thing going. But to have it for 41 years is really amazing. Now, Dave, you've done so many wonderful things. We're really privileged to have you here. Now, you never went to college, yet you built $1 billion business. How did you do that? I mean, that's not the easiest thing in the world. How did you get that done?
Well, I did not chart my path. I lived it by what I learned and used outside of a formal education. My father was very disappointed in me that I did not go to college. That eventually changed, and he knew that I would be successful. He just didn't know how. And recently, after making money and giving money to colleges, I wanted an honorary degree to actually honor my father. Well, that didn't happen. But my lawyer pushed and shoved and wrote a letter and got me just recently an honorary doctorate degree. And something happened where I now know that my father knows about it. And I'm very, very pleased that that happened. It was quite an honor.
That is. You know, Dave, I went to college, and most of the people in our neighborhood went to college, but one individual did. He said somebody has to hire these college boys with all their degree, and so he stayed home, was very, very successful as well. Before business, now this is really amazing. You were a performing magician in Los Angeles. What did magic teach you about showmanship, discipline, and connecting with people?
Well, I did my first show for money when I was only 9 years old. And I made $5.
Oh, wow.
But in 1954, that was a lot of money for a 9-year-old to make $5. But magic probably did more for me in my life, that and scouting, because it taught me how to communicate and use my eyes, which are my most powerful asset. They're big, they're bright, they're blue, and I could control the whole room with my eyes. And that, along with the communication skills that I learned performing, helped me so much in my business development.
Well, looking back, do you think those early experiences outside of business help prepare you for taking a risk later on?
My father was in his mid-40s when I was born. So he worked through the Depression, and he was very much risk advantage and wouldn't take much of a risk. It had to be pretty much a sure thing. Along my pathway, learning and meeting lots of very famous, wealthy, successful people, I learned how to make prudent decisions and take risks with a good, prudent point. And so I made money. My father learned a lot, but he didn't make a lot of money. He lost his eyesight to a point he couldn't drive. At 92 years old, he was still working. But without being able to drive, he couldn't get out and about. I've got that solved. I've made enough money. When my point comes, I'll hire a driver and I'll keep working. Our businesses work 24/7, 365. If I can't sleep in the middle of the night, I can come down to work and be busy.
Wow. Looking back, Dave, do you think those early experiences outside of business help prepare you for the risk taking later on that you've gone through?
Absolutely. Uh, it's all about learning how to take risks. Well, some risks I just broke rules. Like in high school, I was lying about my age and working in nightclubs uh, and making money. I didn't do well in school, but I had so many other things going on in my life that drove me, including probably the most important, which was scouting and learning how to manage, direct, and guide other young people through the skills that you learn in scouting.
Well, what inspired you to go into the petroleum industry and ultimately found Caljet?
Uh, my father was a crude oil buyer for a small refinery in Long Beach. I was in my late teens, early 20s, still doing magic, but I fell in love and I needed more consistent income to provide Marilyn with the things that she needed. I had promised her to send her to college. No one in her family had ever been, a safe place to live, a car to drive. I had to put all that together. So I formed a company and I did it by borrowing $1,000 on my credit card, founding the company, and basically having no working capital at the beginning. And I made it work.
In the energy sector, trust and reliability are everything. How do you build a company that cultivates so much with your customers? It gives you a peace of mind because, everybody say, oh, but go start a company. But I know personally how difficult that is. So congratulations, man. How did you cover the trust factor with people?
I hired people that augmented what I knew or knew things that I did not know. And then I compensated them as highly as I could. And I also, and I still do it today, provide them with a Cadillac healthcare plan for $1 per paycheck. So the rest comes out of my wallet. I have to make enough money to provide that, but that gives the employees peace of mind for themselves and their family that they're going to be taken care of.
Well, that's admirable. But as a self-made leader, what were some of the principles you carried with you into boardrooms and meetings on business?
Well, there's not any one thing. First of all, my parents were so much older than their peers when I came along. They raised me with a good inside voice to be out in public and with adults more than children. Then I got involved in scouting and life. And when I eventually started a business, I didn't go into a boardroom or a meeting with one item. I went in with 12, the Scout Law, and used whichever principles in there fit for the meeting. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And I would use whichever ones were appropriate to make the meeting better. And I even teach those principles to my employees today.
Well, that's impressive. It's easy to see why you're so successful now. Dave, this next accomplishment you have is very impressive to me. I don't know how much it will impress other people, but you are a decorated Eagle Scout and recipient of Scouting's highest honor. How does Scouting shape your
Well, there are three
future?
main things in scouting: the oath, the law, and the motto. And to me, the motto is probably the most important, and it's so important to me. We have 4 terminals. We have a large American flag at each one, and flying below the American flag is the scouting flag that says "Be prepared," because we all have to be prepared for life from the moment we were born and all the things we go through, whether it be puberty, starting to date, life experiences. You got to be prepared for the things. I'm now 80 years old, and I'm starting to experience some changes, and I have to be prepared for them, as do you, at a couple of years older than I am.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's not the years, it's what you've done with them. And that's what's so impressive about you and what you've done. What lessons have you benefited from being an Eagle Scout?
I've truly learned to take care of people, and so I helped a man who wasn't in business for himself, but I knew he would make a good entrepreneur. So I helped him found a Center for Social Capital, and he was so thankful he wanted my name on it. So it now is the Dave Alexander Center for Social Capital that recognizes that capitalism works when you realize that taking care of people is taking care of business.
Why do you believe scouting and youth leadership programs remain so vital in today's world?
Young people need to learn how to communicate, to lead, and that's what scouting does. And now that young girls are in scouting, it's even more important, and it's a good venue for them to meet and understand boys, and boys understand and meet girls in the right way. It's absolutely incredible what scouting does for youth. It's the greatest youth organization in the world. And I'm involved not
The
only.
more I look at your background, the more impressive I am. You've competed in 300 triathlons and still hold world records.
Well, they're
What
not really
drives you to
world
push
records, but
yourself?
there's no really, I've never won a race, but I absolutely do the best job that I can with the assets that the Lord has given me. I mean, I'm an endomorph. I I don't win races. I just do the best I can. I never give up, and I look at myself every day of what, and now whether it's business or racing, did I prepare properly for what I'm going to do today? Have I
Can
allocated
you,
my resources both mentally and physically? Every race that I ever entered, I won something, because some of them I
well,
chose because they were so incredibly difficult and didn't know if I was going to be able to complete it or not. Some of them, my wife became very worried, and so did I, if I could complete it or not. The biggest example is a race back in the early 2000s. It was called the Beauty and the Beast in St. Croix. It was such an incredibly hot day. It was 88 and 88. That the apparent temperature is 122. I had fear, but it wasn't irrational fear. And I had to do such difficult things. The Beast was an incredible hill, steeper than any of the hills in the Tour de France. Some of the professional racers got off their bikes and ran up the hill because they couldn't do it. I had a special bike made with an incredible large gear where I could climb it without walking. But even then, I had to zigzag back and forth to make it up the hill. But I didn't want to be seen by the cameras walking. Uh, they would have made jokes about that. So I got off the bike and I'm starting off on the run, and it was difficult. I'm getting toward the end of the race. And you know, Lou, I saw something very important. I saw a phone booth, and I stopped. And I used my company credit card and called my wife to let her know that I was okay and I was going to make it. It was only a matter of how long it was going to take. And I was the last finisher. Everybody kept quitting, and the sag wagon kept catching up to me. It was so difficult, but I made it, and I was last. But 35% of the starters, 35% did not finish. I feel
Oh,
very, very proud that I was able to do it and make it to the end.
what gave you the courage to compete and complete? Because so many people could not. What went through your
Well,
mind?
that's
Was it your
that.
bringing up? What caused
People
your
don't know
mental capacity
what they can
to
and can't
function
do
in
because
that
they don't
direction?
try. It's I didn't think I could do these difficult races, but I prayed about it and I said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen. I just had the will to get there.
Okay, you had to have great endurance
Oh, yes.
because so many people around you are quitting. But how does that relate to the perseverance you've had to have in business? Is there a correlation at
There's
all?
no, yeah, there's no difference at all. I mean, they're both difficult things. My businesses have been successful because I drive and push and do it with kindness to all those around me. I make my customers very happy with the assets we've had. For instance, we have terminals, and terminals have lots of pumps. I spent the additional money to put 2 pumps for every operation. So if one breaks, we flip a switch and we keep working. So the customers know that we're never broken. We're always working. They can come to us and get their fuel. And right now we're full and we have people asking to move more business to us and we don't have the room.
Oh,
That's a good problem.
incredible. Now, one thing's obvious, Dave. What a great influence Marilyn's been in your life.
Oh,
Can you
incredible.
expound on that a little bit?
She's an incredible person and she works very hard. In the first part of our marriage, she worked uh, had several little jobs. She actually started a business for a while. Now she's very involved in supporting me and helping out at the charities that we've chosen to support. And that's one of the things that we do very carefully is we choose, you can't give money to every charity that's good. So you have to pick them with your knowledge, your passion, and your intuition and give them enough to make a difference. I don't want to give $1,000 to 1,000 charities. I want to give a lot of money to just a few charities where they can really make a difference.
Well, no money, no cause. That's the one thing I
That's
know
right.
on it. Okay, now you and Marilyn have invested heavily in youth causes worldwide. What compels you so strongly to focus on empowering young people, Dave?
I was taught a lot by my parents and my 2 siblings that were much older. My sister was 12 years older. My brother was 17 years older. So I had a lot of mentors in the family to help me and learn. And scouting then helped me learn. And that's what we've done and taken those skills and tried to give them to other people, whether they're in scouting or not, to improve their life and their decision making process to make them a better human.
You know, you mentioned that you get a lot of cases or causes brought before you. How do you decide? How do you decide what are the real worthwhile causes that you support? What is the
Well,
criteria you
my
use?
true legacy, and actually Marilyn's on board with it, is scouting because that probably did more for me and growing and maturing and becoming a leader than anything else. So that's my legacy. But we have a number of others in health and in food to help make things better for others.
If you could challenge Americans listening today, what would it be? What are the things we need to improve in this country to get back the culture that we've had for so many years?
To give back, you have to follow your passion and your intuitions. It must come from your heart and you must believe in them to give back, or it's just giving money into a hole. You need to have passion and intuition that it's the right place to give. We're very careful because people know we give. We get a lot of people coming to us and asking for money. So one of the first things you have to learn is how to say no very nicely.
That is important. That really, if you could challenge America's listener today, what would it be? What would you challenge them?
Earn, support your family, and help the rest of the world, those closest to you first.
Well, there's so many people looking for direction today, Dave, as you know. And what are the biggest changes you've seen in this country from when you started out, when you first got married? What are the biggest changes you've seen? Because we've gone through a lot of them.
Oh, we have. We certainly have. And they're going on daily. I mean, I'm a very conservative person, and there's so many liberal things that I do not like. I dislike some of the super liberal things that are going on. But those people are still people, and they're humans, and they're children of God. And I'm willing to help educate them and help them in any way that I can. But I'm not going to support liberal causes.
Wouldn't it be great if more people in this country had that philosophy, Dave?
I wish
You're
they
one of
did.
these that you believe this, but you're very tolerant of other thoughts.
Yes. I pray every night that that happens.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dave. And you're really a rare individual that's accomplished an awful lot. One last question. What's the biggest problem you have in keeping a business going?
Probably people ask me that a lot. And we have a very liberal mayor of our city in Phoenix. We have a very liberal governor. And getting the proper permits to operate and build additional assets is probably the biggest problem that I face.
That's a problem that we all face, and we as American citizens have an obligation to do whatever we can
Yes.
to correct it so that other young Dave coming along have the opportunity to be successful, such as you've been not only in business, because you've helped so many other people.
Correct.
God bless you.
It's great being with you, Lou.
Thank you for
You've led
joining
a
us,
great
David.
life.
Yeah, it's easy to see why you're so successful, and thank God for people like you. And I want to thank your mom and father for bringing an individual into this world with so many good ideas and willing to work and compete. And the marathons are great, but being a Boy Scout, that is impressive because I was in scouting. I know how hard that is to become an Eagle Scout. So congratulations to you. I don't know how I can help you, but all you have to do is give me a call. As I like to say this, Dave, you have a problem, you call me, then you call 911.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lou. Great advice.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll join us next time for another edition of the Lou Holtz Conversation. I can't promise we'll have anybody as interesting or as successful as Dave, but thank him for being part of this organization.
Thank you so much, Lou.
God bless you.